Hello, my friends. It's been a little bit, but yeah, I've been needing to get some rest because it's been pretty rough in terms of my energetic state. And today I'm feeling much better, so um, decided to come here and do my thing as I usually do. So, and that's what I wanted to really talk about today was, you know, your energy, your energetic state. We all have our own energy. And although there is this consciousness field that is shared among all of us, each one of us has this unique, specific signature that pertains only to you. Think of it in terms of a fingerprint or the iris of your eye. Those things are unique to you and you alone, and no two people will ever be the same. And that's how it works with the energy, the energetic body, the energetic field that we have around us and that we emanate based on our spiritual state, our mind and body state combined, our heart state. So, our chakras obviously they play a major role in all of this, but if we're living in a state of alignment with ourselves, things will change, obviously. And a lot of people around you will notice these changes. For some, it might be more subtle than others, obviously. But what I'm trying to say here is that we should all be mindful about our energy. And that means that you have to be careful what you put your energy into. Because sometimes we do certain things on a subconscious level without us, being aware of. And when you're doing these things, you're gonna end up draining yourself. I spoke I spoke about this, a while back on one of my videos. I don't remember which one it was. It doesn't really matter. But what I'm saying is, I was going through this phase not that long ago where I was feeling drained, so drained, and I really couldn't figure out why that was happening. Because I was trying to rest, and I was resting, and it still felt like the resting wasn't doing anything. And I've been asking for some clarifying on this issue for a couple of weeks now for myself. I've been asking and asking and praying and asking and I'm like, you know, this is not good. Give me something. Give me something. And it finally dawned on me. So yeah, we have to be aware of what are what are we putting our energy into sometimes. In my specific case, I'm not gonna go deep into what it was. It doesn't matter. Um, but I was having this specific issue with something that's been on my mind for a while, and I kept like I kept myself in this like state of like anxiety about it. And even though that was happening, I wasn't seeing it. This whole thing was happening in the background in such a subtle way. Um, well, there were some days that it wasn't as subtle as you would think, but you're still going through your day, going through the motions, just letting yourself go with the flow. And and this was kind of happening in the background of things, and then between last night and today, I finally realized what was going on, and I was like, oh, I get it now. So I immediately recognized what it was that I was doing, and what it was that I was pouring so much energy into it. And maybe in a future video I will, you know bring this up again and let you guys know how it goes for me from this point on, in terms of me, you know getting rest and not feeling drained anymore. Because I think that after today, I'm gonna feel a lot different, because now I understand where this was coming from. So sometimes, like I said, there's so much subtle energies, working in the background. And if we're not really laser focused, paying attention to every single aspect of these little things that sometimes they're happening in the back of our minds, but we're not really paying attention to it. And for me specifically, because I'm Gemini, it took me a lot of it took me a lot of work to be able to discipline myself to get to where I am and be happy with how I do my own thing, because we're very mind focused, and that can be a real pain sometimes. But I figured my own system out, and I applied it into my daily life, and it works pretty good now. I am actually very satisfied with where I am at when it comes down to that. But even though this is how I see it now and how I feel, up until not that long ago, there were still things, you know even last night there were still things going on, and I there was this sort of like self-denial state. That's the best way I can put it. That was still like very, very almost imperceptible, invisible in the background doing its own thing. And I finally saw it. And I'm like, okay, I get it now. Thank you. So we'll see how it goes, from this point on. But and this is what I mean. We have to be aware, guys, of what do we do with our own energy sometimes, because sometimes you're giving way too much of your energy to certain things, certain situations, certain people, anything that relates to your daily, life, and we're not paying attention to it. And when we're going through this like spiritual process of like reconnecting with ourselves, rediscovering ourselves, that's when you're having all the shifts, like one after the other sometimes, and it's happening so fast. It may not be that way for everybody, but I feel like we're we're being kicked into high gear right now because of these cosmic energies that are aligning and everything, and it's like it's speeding up everything now. And we have to be mindful that when these things are happening, we need to rest. We need to get proper rest. We really need to rest. Rest is extremely important because your body is going through all these like recalibrations, readjusting itself, realigning itself in so many ways in different aspects. In like all these different like dimensional layers, because we don't have just this vessel. We have multiple bodies that coexist with this vessel, and they all exist on their own frequency band, and they're all connected to each other. So as we're going through this, if we're not getting proper rest, you're gonna feel it. Trust me, you're gonna feel it, and it hits hard sometimes. It hits hard. And as an INFJ empath, I can assure you, the toll is heavy sometimes. If you don't know what an INFJ is, go look it up. I don't got the time to explain this. I'm sorry, guys. That's not what the video is about. But maybe because this topic, it involves all these things, right? And I mean, that alone, without any spiritual work, is already a thing for us. And as you're like upgrading yourself to this newer, better version of yourself, right? You you're gonna be so much more magnetic for certain people. And then and then, you know you're gonna have to sometimes set boundaries. You just have to, because if you don't, you're gonna get drained pretty bad sometimes. And there are certain things that you can do to kind of like not get drained so much, but there are also limitations to what you can do. So you have to be mindful of these things, because yeah, it'll happen and you will feel it. And I was going through this not that long ago, and I was like, damn, what am I doing wrong? Why why do I keep feeling this way? I'm feeling so good about everything, and I'm really enjoying this new way of being, this new mindset, this new state of just being myself and enjoying all the emotions that life has to offer. But yet, I'm getting drained the hell out of me. And then I figured it out. You know, sometimes it might be more than one thing. But when you're getting drained that hard, there's usually going to be one thing in specific that's going to be the one thing that's draining you the most. And for me, I figured out what it was, thankfully, because I've been asking for this for a while, and I think today I finally got it. So yeah, guys, be mindful and just be beware of that. It's important because I know sometimes we have this thing, we just want to give, especially you know being an empath, if that's what you are. I think a lot of us is like, are kind of like that in some way, shape, or form when we become more compassionate towards other people, because it's human nature. You start loving yourself so much, and then you want to be this like person who fixes everything for everybody, and you think you can do it, you think you can handle, but let me tell you, it's not your job to fix other people. That's not what we're here. That's not what we're here for. There's nothing wrong with trying to help people here and there, but when you start when you when you start having this mindset where you're trying to help people so much sometimes that you forget about yourself, you're not doing yourself any favors. You gotta save some of that energy, a good portion of it, for your own thing, for yourself. Because when you start giving that way, you're getting out of balance with yourself, and that's how you're gonna get drained. That's how it happens. So yeah, it's a beautiful thing to want to help other people and all that, but we're not here to make other people live their lives the way we're living our life. We're here to experience our own journey, and they're here to experience their own journey. And that's not to say that there won't be people you will meet along the way that are going to have something to do with your journey in some very meaningful ways sometimes. But still, everyone's journey is a very, very personal thing. And that's what needs to be emphasized here. It's very personal, very personal. And before we can help everybody else and try to be this mega healer that you're gonna go, you haven't even finished healing yourself yet. And that process is constant. It's a work in progress. It takes entire lifetimes sometimes. So you have to allow yourself time for yourself, so you can do your thing and not get off the path and be dragged into some, emotional business that's not even yours to deal with it. Be very, very mindful of that. And I mean it. There's nothing wrong with having a good heart and being a good person. That's human nature. I understand that. I I try to live my life that way. But still, none of us have achieved Jesus level yet. You know what I'm saying? What he could do was powerful and special because he got to a point where he could do that, and he had so much energy that he could just give to everybody and not feel depleted himself. But we're still doing our baby steps here, and it takes a lot of work and a lot of self dedication in a lot of ways. We need to first start to understand this whole process for ourselves before we go out there and go nuts, trying to help everybody else. Because sometimes, you know, it might be doing more harm than good. People are going to do what they want to do with their own lives. You can't change certain outcomes and certain things that are sort of like predetermined in a way. I hope you get what I'm saying with this. Because we all have to go through certain things in order for all of the things that need to unfold in our lives to be the way it's supposed to be, right? And interference is not always a very healthy way of doing things. I don't know. It's just the way I'm feeling it these days because I've lived my whole life being that type of person that I was always like helping everybody, helping everybody, helping everybody, helping everybody. And I always forgot about myself throughout the whole thing. And it didn't bring me any joy whatsoever. I'll tell you that much. On the contrary. Okay? So, we got to remember ourselves. That's all I'm trying to say here. Don't forget about yourself. Because you come first. Remember, we have to take care of ourselves. We have to love ourselves. Love yourself first, and then you can love your neighbor, and others after. And this process, this learning process, can be very time consuming sometimes, and takes a while. Takes a while. That's really all I wanted to talk about today. Don't feel like dragging it for too long. And we'll see how it goes tonight. On a future video, I'll let you guys know how I'm feeling. But I think I'm starting to figure it out a lot better than I was not that long ago. And that's a good thing. And that's why I wanted to share this today. So with that said, I love you all from the bottom of my heart. Have a great day, my friends, and I'll see you on the next one.